echoing cuckoo has called us back to Kids Book Read Aloud, S.C. Crovo, Magic of Nicholas. And this is a very, very special day. In fact, the most cherished day in the year of the magical families of Nicholas. I'm S.C. Crovo. I'm the author and writer of the Magical Families of Nicholas. And as I said, today is a very special day because it is the night of wonder, what we also know as Christmas Eve. So we're going to get a little bit into our magic right now. So let me get Dolly. She is the keeper of the key. It's not a magical key, but it makes me feel just a little magical. So let me put my key on right here. And also, we have our Kelv Cole right here. And I want him to listen very carefully because we have a lot to share today. Now, the first thing I want to share, of course, is that it's such a special day and it's the night and day of wonder. What we also know, again, as Christmas Eve. And this is when the giver delivers gifts to all the children of the world. Now, I did a little research, and it's amazing to know that the giver, or who we know as Santa Claus, has become a part of literally all of the cultures of the world. For example, in England, he's known as Father Christmas. In France, he's known as Père Noël. In Italy, he's known as Babbo Natale. And even in Russia, he's known as Ded Moroz. So in all the cultures of the world, there is the story of the giver. Now we know, I'll let you hold that, Cole, that the magical families of Nicholas first arrived here on Earth in around 500 AD. We learned that from Masters of Nicholas and Target Earth. I read that for you right here on this show. But what if the Nicholases had arrived even earlier than that? Is it possible? There's something I want to show you. Come on with me. I purchased this painting many years ago, long before I began writing about the magical families of Nicholas. I loved it because I love the color, and of course it's an image that depicts the three kings. The artist, Sharon Dobbs, has an interesting imagination about the three kings that visited Bethlehem on this magical night. Their night of wonder, our night of Christmas Eve. Now I want you to notice something. One of the questions we asked was, could the Nicholases have visited before 500 AD, which was when they first established their presence in the northern region of the earth in the village of Nicholas? Let's take a closer look at these three kings. You'll notice this king looks quite young, like a young Nicholas with his brown curled hair. This king looks like an older Nicholas. He even has white hair and a white beard. And this king is an adult Nicholas with his brown beard and his brown hair. And look at his cap, a red cap with a white trim. Could they have been Nicholas's? After all, what were they going to deliver on this magical night in their journey? They were going to deliver gifts to the baby Jesus in Bethlehem. Were they some of the first givers that came to our planet Earth? It's a pretty amazing painting, isn't it? And it's incredible what the imagination can create. But right now, I want to bring you forward to right now, right here in this time. And we're going to get into the story of Benjamin Nicholas and the Golden Key, which takes place in our time period. And since tonight is the night of wonder, I want you to journey with me into the gray mountain that swirls with ice and snow. Deep under the mountain is the magical, incredible world of sandcalves, the Nicholas world of sandcalves. And right now, we're going to learn what they experience on this magical night, the night of wonder. So come along with me. Let us now retell the story of the night of wonder. Master Jarrett left the throne, followed by Codin, the newly chosen giver, and his calf. The throne area was now empty. The entire room began to dim until it was completely dark, except from the glow from the spinning Yule-seer. Benjamin's eyes were frozen on the scene before him. What happens next? Benjamin asked, never letting his eyes leave the Yule-seer. The best part, Calto said. It's so cool. Just watch. The Yule-seer explodes. No, it doesn't, Corinne corrected. It just changes shape. Watch. Benjamin watched, but nothing much seemed to be happening. Suddenly, the Yule-seer spun faster, but this time it rose up and out of its base. It began to grow larger. The Yule-seer grew so large that it was no longer a part of the room. It was the room. The entire throne room was within the Yule-seer. Benjamin held on to Calto's arm. The room brightened slightly as if by the glow of firelight. Where the throne had been, a village appeared. Humble cottages surrounded a great circle of rocks that contained a roaring fire, but the fire's flames weren't red, they were blue. People in the village looked real and walked about. Then an unfamiliar voice began to speak. Long, long ago, and far, far north, nestled inside Snow Noble Forest, there was a humble village, home to the families of Nicholas. Magical the Nicholases were, for they could discover the heart's desire and make its wishes come true. The scene changed. Men in long robes walked away from the village. New images appeared of strange lands that Benjamin didn't recognize. The voice continued. The men of Nicholas with their golden keys traveled far and wide, delivering their magical gifts to hearts that were worthy. The givers, they were called, and legends they became. The room faded into darkness. Benjamin strained to see, but only the voice could now be heard. When the room lightened, The once peaceful village had changed, and soldiers now surrounded it. One day, the village of Nicholas was discovered by a king and his soldiers who desired power. But the master of Nicholas refused the king's wish, and that night the Nicholas magic was summoned. A great wind swept the king and his soldiers away. The protective spell hid the village of Nicholas, and no longer would the Nicholases deliver their gifts to men. The throne room rumbled and began to shake. The great trees began to bend as a powerful wind rushed through them. Benjamin felt the wind whirl around him, and he could smell the scent of the twisting pines. Benjamin blinked, and the forest disappeared. A great black space spread before the throne room and sparkled with stars. Alas, alone Nicholas had not returned to the village that night, and he wandered, lost and alone, unable to find home. He was found by a visitor from another world, a kelv. Strange chimes started to sound that were low and deep in tone. "What is that sound?" Benjamin whispered to Calto. "They're the kelv chimes," Calto whispered back. "The sounds they make tell the story in our language." Benjamin nodded. They sounded like church bells to him. The chimes ended, and as they did, the forest reappeared. A kelv and a Nicholas walked toward the forest together. The kelv returned the Nicholas to his village, and all celebrated the return of the lost Nicholas, named Santa Nicholas. The kelv wanted to learn more about the magic of Nicholas, and so began the bond between kelv and Nicholas. Many years passed, and a new Master Nicholas was chosen. Master Santa Nicholas decided again to journey and to fulfill wishes, but only for children and only on one night of the year. It was called the Night of Wonder. A small wood-carved throne appeared. It looked nothing like the grand throne in Sandkelv's. A man with long white hair and a beard sat on the throne. He was dressed all in red with a gold key around his neck. His kelv stood beside him. Benjamin smiled. He knew who that was. "Look," Benjamin whispered, pointing and bouncing in his seat. "It's Santa Claus, just like in the books, but he's real. Santa Claus is real." "Santa Nicholas," Corinne corrected. The throne room slipped again into darkness. When it brightened again, Benjamin saw that the forest had disappeared. On that first night, Santa Nicholas and his kelv rose above the forest in a sleigh filled with packages, led by strange creatures that could fly. Suddenly, a sleigh rose from the trees and hovered as if suspended in air. The throne room, though filled with thousands, was as quiet as if it were empty. "Keldeer," Henry whispered excitedly. There's the Keldeer." Round the world they flew in a single night, delivering gifts to children, guided by the moon's light, and legends they became once more. The sleigh that had hovered so lightly took off and flew toward a glistening moon high in a night sky, then disappeared. The crowd came to life and began to cheer. They rose to their feet and clapped. Benjamin stood too. The trees were gone, and everyone seemed to be floating in the blue glow of the Yule Seer. Master Jared and his kelv walked before the cheering crowd. The time had come. "We stand together and join as one," Master Jared said. Everyone joined Master Jared and repeated the words. "The story has been told of the first night of old. Now the time comes again. Let the night of wonder begin." Benjamin looked up. A shining red sleigh filled with gifts floated above. The new giver and his calves sat waiting in the front. The countdown began as the voices of everyone in the throne room shouted out, 10, 9, 8. The voices continued and counted down together. 2, 1. Welcome, Night of Wonder. The sleigh above them shot forward as a blinding blue light swept outward from the center of the Yuleseer. Benjamin shut his eyes. Only a second passed. When Benjamin opened his eyes again, the light was gone. The trees in the village were gone as well. Instead, images of rooms, houses, and places filled the walls of the expanded Yuleseer. Hundreds of images showed the new giver and his calf delivering gifts. It was like a movie, but it was real. How could one giver and one calf be in so many places at the same time? Benjamin looked again. Only one giver and his calf delivered all the gifts, as if they had been divided into thousands. Were they being copied in some way? Where are they? Benjamin asked. He watched with amazement, with his face aglow, as if seeing a miracle. How could this be happening? They are delivering gifts throughout the world, the whole world, all in one night, Henry said, smiling. Just one giver and one calf in one night? How can that be? Benjamin reached his arms up and clasped his hands behind his head, trying to hold his thoughts steady. His mind seemed unwilling to accept what his eyes were seeing. It's impossible. Even if it were possible, it would take more than one night. What you see is a special magic, Keith said. He had seen it all before, but each time he did, he used his analytic mind to try to figure it out. Dimension and time doesn't exist in this magic. Even the elder cows can't figure out how it works. Is this Nicholas magic too? Benjamin swept his arm toward the images that surrounded him. No, Corinne's eyes were fixed and focused. How she wished she could be the giver. It's like a miracle. And that is the Night of Wonder from Benjamin Nicholas and the Golden Key in the Gray Mountain in the incredible, magical Nicholas world of sand cows. And tonight is that night. And I hope you've enjoyed the story. It's a special story. It's that story. It's our story. It's the same story all around the world. The giver of gifts comes tonight to deliver the gifts to all the children of the world. I hope you've enjoyed this show. If you did, give me a thumbs up below. And don't forget that tonight is the magical night. Tonight is the night for wishes. So make your wishes and have a magical Christmas Eve and an even more magical Night of Wonder. And I want to leave you with one of our most cherished Christmas songs, Silent Night. Until the cuckoo calls us again, it's bye for now. Have a magical night. Merry Christmas. Happy night of wonder.